All right, the goal of this lecture is to be able to scroll these items either to the left or to the right without actually moving the entire page. I have a working React component. Here is the root component, of course, that is being named up, and we have the navbar component. So most of the code I'll be adding to this today will be done within the navbar component. The first thing we want to achieve here is to be able to actually scroll each of these items within the container they currently live in. And we have an existing CSS property that we're using to style what you already see on the screen. And we can just go ahead and add the overflow property to that, name it auto, in order to be able to scroll by actually putting a mouse on this very container. So yeah, we have achieved that, and the next thing we want to achieve is to add buttons to both edges. We want to add a previous button just before the home nav item, and then add a next button after the more item here, where users can actually perform a click action on to move this container either to the left or to the right. So we'll go to our navbar component, and I guess the first thing we'll do is just to go ahead and add those two buttons. Let's add them within a div. We'll call this previous, and add another one to the right. We'll call that next. So we now have buttons at both ends, right? So what we want to achieve then is to add a handler to our component that when the user clicks on previous, they can be able to move this container to the left. If they click on next, they can actually move it to the right. Oh, the other way around actually. You click on previous, you can move it to the right. You click on next, you can move it to the left to reveal the items that is on the right, of course. So the first thing we want to do is to create a reference to this very container where all these items currently exist. So we want to create a reference to this very div that currently hosts all these items. We can do that by using the React hook known as useRef. If you are using a React class component, what you will use instead of this would be the create ref method. Let's call that reference navref, and we'll go ahead and invoke our useRef hook. So we're passing this reference to the container that hosts all this. So that would be this very container right here called a nav item with the class name nav items. So our reference property would be navref. Okay. Now that we have a reference to the container that has all these items, we want to then access the scrollLeft property of this navref and then perform an action on that very reference. Let's go ahead and define the handler for each of those buttons. We'll call this handler handle nav. I want to pass in a direction depending on what side I want to scroll. So if the direction is left, we want to scroll left. If the direction is right, we want to go ahead and scroll right. Okay. All right. So the way we want to scroll is to access a property known as scrollLeft. That scrollLeft property, if we reduce it, it should move this container to the left. If we increase it, it should move it to the right. Right? So go ahead and check first whether our nav rev is defined. If it is defined, we want to go ahead and access the scrollLeft property. Before then, we'll have to access the current property. Then with the current property, the scrollLeft property, we want to then reduce it. We reduce it by 200 units. If it is not defined, we just pass a null to it so that nothing happens. And if the direction is right, we want to definitely scroll right this time. So check in. If it is defined, we want to access the scrollLeft property, and then this time we want to add 200 units to it. If it is not defined, I want to just pass a null. So now that we have the handler defined, we can now go ahead and add it to the on-click of the buttons we added earlier. So on click, what we want to do is invoke the handle nav and then pass the direction we want to scroll to. In this case, left for the previous. And what this means is that if we now click on this previous, it should move the container to it should scroll to the left. So each press should actually move by 200 units. Then I want to go ahead and do the same thing for the next button, which is we call the handle nav passing in right. So clicking on the next button should move the container to the right. So that's how you will handle a horizontal scrolling using the scrollLeft property of a reference of the container. Thank you.